welcome to All Things Newark. My name is Karen and I'm your host, and my very special guest today is Kendall Spear. And Kelly brought several of her friends along, and this is Naya Smith and Kendall Spear. The reason that we have all gathered here today is to talk about Kendall.
Yes.
Kendall Spear. And that was Kelly's son. Kelly's son is a victim of gun violence here in Newark. All Things Newark is a positive show, and we like to highlight the positive side of Newark, but we cannot hide our face from the tragedy and the epidemic that is plaguing our town, and that is gun violence and shootings. I'm not going to sit here and quote a bunch of statistics because more than one is too much. What I want to do today is for you, the viewer, to get a sense of who Kendall was, the impact that his untimely death has had on his mother, his family, and his friends. You read the newspaper or you hear about something and you say, oh, that's a shame. That shouldn't have never happened. And you keep it going. But you don't know the impact that it has on the families. And so what we're going to do right now, we're going to talk about Kendall. And we are going to introduce you to this wonderful 20-year-old man that was taken from us all too soon. Mm-hmm. So Kelly.
Yes.
Tell us about Kendall. Now, you shared with me some funny stories. Let's talk about one of those funny stories that come to mind.
All right. So, well, I'll tell you how Kendall was 20 years old. Mm-hmm. And the first thing was he was thinking that he wasn't going to go to school. His whole idea after he graduated from Arts High was, Mommy, I'm not going to college. Mm-hmm. And so I had a fit because, my family is education-wise and college-bound, but he wasn't one of those college kids, and that was fine. Mm-hmm. So, I said to him, well, if you don't go to school, then you have to get a job, and which he did. He was a good boy. He went out, he got himself a job, worked at Walmart.
Okay.
And in the rain, but after a couple of rains and a couple of snows, he said, oh, I can't keep doing this. Mm-hmm. So I said, well, you're there now. You can't leave a job if you don't have a job.
Right.
So, but in the meantime, while all this was going on, what he always did, and his father and I would get so annoyed, is he would have cars and motorcycles in the driveway. Oh, so, you had grease spots, and you had, my husband's tools. Uh-huh. That was, because he lose them and didn't bring them back, so he was always mad.
Okay.
And it dawned on me, well, you know what, Kendall, why not go to school for mechanic?
Okay.
And he said, Mom, I'm not going to, what's the name of that school? Lincoln Tech.
Oh, okay.
And I said, but there's other schools. There's plenty of schools. So I rushed and got on the, the computer and found UTI out of Florida, actually. Okay. And so without asking him, I called UTI, set up the appointment. The guy was coming in about 2 weeks. So I said, Kendall, will you meet with this guy? He's like, I'm not meeting with anybody. I said, listen, this is an opportunity. You know how you tell the stories. And so finally he said, yeah, the guy came up, they met. He loved the whole idea.
Oh, that's great.
But Kendall did not believe he was going to UTI, to Florida, until the day he got on the plane.
Oh my.
We gave him a going away party, and all his friends were there, and he didn't think he was going. And it wasn't until he got on that plane and he got down to Florida.
So how did that work out?
And he cussed, cried, screamed. Always had a story. He used to call me up. He wanted to come home for Thanksgiving that year, and he called me up and he said, you don't love me. You just want me to be away. I mean, he used to text you all the time. He was just furious that he had to be down there, and so I said, Kendall, just hold up. Christmas, you can come home for your birthday. Okay. So anyway, Christmas came around. He came home for his birthday, and it was funny. He saw all his friends, because I kept telling him, you have to get away to know that there's more to life than
That's
what we
so true.
had.
That's so true.
What was just in Newark, in our four corners. And so when he came home, it was so funny. He came home, we celebrated holidays, Christmas, his birthday, and then it was, before he had to leave, he was ready to go back to Florida.
So he came home and he got here.
He got here.
And he was ready to go.
And then he was ready to go back.
Wow.
And for me, that was a good thing.
Yeah.
Because he realized that there was more, so much more. And UTI was a beautiful school.
Now tell me about this school, UTI, and the friends and stuff that he had there.
He had, well, his best friend actually, I always remember his name is Cole. I don't get a chance to see him anymore, but one of the guys that he hung out with was actually the grandson to A.C. Moore.
Ooh, like A.C.
Moore, the company,
right,
yeah. And he used to always say, Ma, he's called me, Ma. He said, want me to call his grandfather? You can go shopping at A.C. Moore. I said, no, Kendall, I don't want you to call. Whatever you need, he said, you can have it. Just call him. And I said, no, Kendall, I don't want to do that. So he was there. He enjoyed it. His whole goal was he was going to become a master mechanic.
A master mechanic.
Yeah, and he had it all planned out. I'm going to work here. I'm going to be, because he started working on the jet skis.
Jet skis?
And so he
Really?
was like, Mommy, I'm going to be down in Florida during this time because then I can do all the summer, do the jet skis, and then I'm going to be up in the cold weather and work on. He had it all planned. He just had the whole thing planned out.
So now from what you were saying, this was like the Harvard of these types of schools.
It's the Harvard of mechanic schools. When I walked, my oldest son and I went down Spear, and when you walked on the campus, you thought you were walking on a Harvard campus. Wow. You walked in, all the kids had their own motorcycles, their own jet skis, their own cars.
Wow. All of
it was
that
awesome.
to work on.
All of that to walk on, and it was huge. The campus was huge. So he finally got it, and he enjoyed it. Down there for the time he was there.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just a lot of things about him that I miss. He was a funny kid. And and I.
Now why are y'all laughing?
Because she's telling the truth.
What's the Kendall story that you remembered as funny?
God. It's so many.
If you can, like
how she's addressing his whole he had to leave situation. He didn't want to go, and he would come to my house because I live right down the street and sit on my porch, and he would just crack all these jokes about, oh, I gotta go to this school. My mother think I'm leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not going nowhere. She calling these people. I'm not going nowhere. I'm not leaving. Kendall, you are leaving. You need to get out of here. You need to go do something different. And I have a son that's younger than him. So his whole goal was, well, who's going to watch your son? I'm like, well, he is not a baby. He had all these excuses. It didn't matter. Who's going to look after your daughter? That's my little sister. Who's going to watch? Kendall, you can go down to Florida, and then you can come back and
He was trying to come with all kind of excuses.
From the airport, they flew out before he did. So he's texting my phone. They left me in this airport. They don't know I'm not getting on this plane. I'm not going nowhere.
Goodness.
Come pick me up. I'm like, Kendall, I'm not coming to get you. First of all, your mother's not going to kill me. And second of all, you need to go. You need to get out of here. I'm not going to like it. It's going to be our country. Nobody going to understand. I'm from Newark. I'm from the city. I want to be here. I want to be home. But when he got down there, he texted me, I hate it. I'm in this house. I don't know nobody. I don't want to hang out with anybody. And then around Thanksgiving, I'm coming home. Text him back, no, you're not. I'm coming home. I'm like, no, you're not. You're not coming home. How you know I'm not coming home? I already spoke to your mother, your father. You're not coming home. Oh, that's not fair. I want to come home. And then you guys went, right? You guys went down?
No.
Oh, so he didn't even.
Christmas. He didn't come home till Christmas.
You were not letting him come home.
No, because if you don't experience it,
right?
How do you ever know?
That's true.
So and I wanted him to experience
and that was
it.
a wonderful opportunity.
Yes, yeah.
And kudos to you for finding that school.
Yeah, and he was in a safe place, so so he got it. But it was quite funny. It's a lot of things. It's the comedy behind my son. I know. I missed how he. This was just something that he did because the boy was crazy. He there was this one time that he had no inhibitions. And Kendall had a habit of telling you things. Now, he was a young man, so he was 18, 19.
Okay.
But he'd tell you about girls and about his experience, and I go,
You were like his best friend, it seemed
yes. I was like, Kendall, I don't think Mommy's supposed to hear you. You can hear that? I'm like, oh my God. And but this one time, which was so funny, was I was in the bedroom and he was in his room, and he said, "Ma, come here for a minute." And I said, "Kendall, what's the matter?" "Oh, Mommy, come here for a minute." So I go in the back room. He has no shorts on. He don't have no pants on. His drawers are dropped. I'm like, Kendall, he's hanging heavy.
So he's hanging out.
Listen, and then he throws his leg up on the sink, and he's like, "Ma, look at this." He had a boil.
Oh my God.
So he was like, "What? Look." I said, "Kendall." And he laughed, I laughed, and I was like, something's wrong with this child.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
And he was just like that, and we were able to talk like that, and that's what I think made it so much fun, you know, with him. He was just a comedian, and you know, he loved life, he loved people, and he was from what I understand, especially after the funeral, was the number of people that said, you know, Kendall would talk to me late at night. I could call if I have a problem.
Wow.
I'd call him and he'd be like, "What's the matter?" He'd have to wake half up, but talk to them.
Anytime, a day or night.
Anytime, a day or night. He was just always available, you know, as a friend for people. And he was the one thing, which is much like my husband, Kendall would tell you he hadn't grown into being tactful yet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So he would tell you what he thought. And then he said,
version.
yeah, he hadn't grown into that. I used to tell him, you know, sometimes you have to watch them. He said, "They get it." I said, "Yes, they do get it." I said, "But sometimes you have to lose a little tact when you're talking to people." But the young people appreciated that.
Yeah.
That he was that honest, you know, and
keeping
that
it real.
keeping it real. Yeah, they appreciated that about him. So, yeah.
Now, Naya. Now, what is a memory that you have of Kendall?
Well, I met Kendall when I was about 8 years old. We went to school together. We went to like almost every school together.
Okay.
But I remember like whenever I would be sad or like whenever I was down, you can always count on Kendall for a laugh. It was like, even if you didn't expect it, like you'll see Kendall in the hall and like you'll be like, "Is that Kendall?" And then by the time he there, you'd be like, all you could say is, "Kendall, what are you doing?" Because it was like he was always doing something. It was like, you know, he had a way of making people smile and he didn't almost even know. And I remember like whenever you needed Kendall, he was always there for you. Like regardless if you wanted someone to talk to or you just wanted somebody to make you feel good, he was always someone that you could count on to support you. Like if you tell him you was having problems, not that he was any older than us, but he just
An old soul.
yeah, he just had a way of just uplifting us. It was like
Really?
yeah, it was like he's always been like that. Or I remember like he was always the crazy friend. It was like almost like the daredevil, like
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
Yes.
like it was always like crazy Kendall. Like, I can't even think of a story offhand because I'll be probably talking for hours. Like
Oh, wow.
I just
So it is so nice to have those type of people in your life. Like if you're feeling down or something, you know, you talk to this person, they're going to uplift you. And you are changed as a result of that encounter with that individual. So it seems like he was that type of person.
yeah.
He really was. Now tell me about Arts High. He went to Arts High, right?
Arts High School, yes.
And he was fond of basketball.
Basketball,
And baseball.
baseball.
And
And he, when he was younger, he played in the band at
Okay.
Shabazz. So he did that, and yeah, he loved the school. The kids loved him. He had a lot of friends. I thought he was going to be a baseball player because
He was very
down
athletic.
and he was very good at it. But when he was in Florida, he got selected to go for the tryouts for the Marlins. It's a team in Florida.
What?
And that was and that was actually 2 weeks before he passed away.
Wow.
So he never got down there for that.
Wow.
But he was going for that one.
Tell me about the impact of not having Kendall here?
Oh my God.
Tell me about
Let me just
that.
say, it's for me and my family, because like I said, I have other kids, and Kendall took on a role with my kids because they also lost their brother to violence in the street. And Kendall had met their brother a couple of months prior, and when they lost him, he just stepped into that role of big brother, and he pretty much told them, so like, that's okay, I got you. He's not here, Jahaz's not here, but I have you. So my son went through a situation at his school at Shabazz, and Kendall came to school with us every day. It was so funny. He was
Every day.
Every day till we got the situation resolved.
Right.
And he told my son, he said, you don't have to worry. You don't have to be scared. I'm here. I'm going to walk these halls with you every day.
Goodness.
And when he passed, it was like another piece of us had left. You know, it devastated me because I was outside that night. And his impact was so great on so many people, not just the youth. I mean, I'm way, way older than Kendall, and I mean, not that old, but you know, I'm way older than Kendall, and just his conversations, his insight, his input, his protectiveness, his loyalty to everybody that knew him and loved him. It was so powerful that, you know, like I didn't even understand who he was until he wasn't here anymore. I feel like, you know, sometimes you walk the path with people that are angels, that are sent here, and you don't know that they're angels. But Kendall, I always felt like he was here for his purpose. He did what he was supposed to do. If that was to bring his light to all of us and make us feel better or comfortable, or I would bite his ears off, he'd be like, come on, because he would call me Mom sometimes. Come on, Mom, now, you know, you better not get on that boy like that. You know, he was just that angel that crossed your path. And when he left, it was just, it was devastating to us, but we really got to appreciate who he was once he wasn't here. You know, it's hard to appreciate somebody when they're here because you don't fully understand the impact. But when he left and you have your own stories and you hear about everybody else's stories, and he never changed.
He never changed.
He never changed. The same person from the beginning to the end, he was the same. So it's like you miss a part of yourself.
Yes.
You miss that smile, miss him walking past my window and yelling, I'm home, I told you I was coming home. You know, that smile, that hug, because he would hug the life out of you. You know, really, you know, it's just, it's a lot. You miss a being that I don't think I will ever come across again, ever.
That is so impactful. Thank you so much. I have to take a break, but I want you to tell me about Kendall's Corner.
Okay.
Okay? And tell me about what you're trying to do, what your goals are, and then we'll take our break.
Okay.
Are you okay?
I'm good.
Okay. So what is Kendall's Corner and how did that come about?
Well, Kendall's Corner came about because my husband and I, when we had the funeral, we got so many people, you know, cards, notes, emails, and because I love children.
Yes.
And, you know, I've been working with children, volunteering 24 years, my whole life, working with kids. And I started thinking, if I'm getting the comfort and the nurturing that I need as a parent that's lost a child, what happens to all the kids? You know, all the kids that experience deaths of friends, even family members. I mean, loss is a loss. It could be anything. Who's talking to them? You know, or has it just, you know, they just push it on the back table and they don't talk about it at all. And, you know, and the sad part is, you know, later on in life, all those things come up. They come up in the way you act. They come up in the things you do and the decisions that you make. So, what we decided was we should have something called the Kendall's Corner. And it's called Kendall's Corner, Let's Talk. And the idea was to make sure that all the young people, because I love my babies, there's a bunch of them, and I love my kids. So I said, well, why don't we all get together and we'll do things like share stories about Kendall. Same thing we're doing now. We did journaling. We did cutting out pictures and telling our stories through that, laughing, talking, eating. And that's what I want to do with more young people. And I'm trying to reach out now to, I call them children on the street, the kids that are just walking up and down the block. They don't have anybody to talk to.
Right.
And nobody's stopping to listen to them.
Right. No direction.
Right. So I want to have a place where they can come. We're going to do what I call a chat and chew. Okay. You come in, have some cookies, have some drink. You sit around and you just talk about whatever the subject is. You know, maybe one week we'll talk about death or loss. Maybe another week we'll talk about prevention of domestic violence, because domestic violence is there, but how do you get kids to recognize it before it happens to them? Prevention of domestic violence. Maybe another week we'll talk about the community and how we can change what's going on in the community. It's just all these different social ills that our young people, I call them kids, but because they're always kids to me, but that they're faced with, and nobody's taking the time out. And I think, and I shouldn't say that, some people are taking the time out. I think it's the way that it's done. Because I'm a social worker. So, and so, you know, you look at things and you say that's clinical. Well, that's how I kind of view it. But clinical for our people is like saying you're crazy. That's how we look at it. But that's not really what it is. In the old days, I always think about the old days and how my mother used to have get the girls together and they'd all meet at one house, put all the kids in one room, and they'd sit around and have their tea and their coffee and whatever. But what the women were doing was comforting each other, talking about what was going in their lives, talking about how do we fix what's going on. What did you do that helped you that I could do that helped? That's what they did. Where is that?
Yeah.
I don't do that
it's
anymore.
It's your chat and chew.
So it's my chat and chew. That's Kendall's Corner.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you so much for being a part of the show. And we're going to have another group of people come up, and they're going to talk to us about their solution to the violence that is plaguing our community. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, we are back, and I have with me Sharif Imhotep, and I have Natasha Allen. Now, Sharif is the vice chair of the Newark Anti-Violence Coalition, and we have Natasha. Now, what's your position there?
I'm the ambassador of information.
Okay, all right, I will go with that. Now, tell me about your organization, and how did it come about?
We call ourselves the Newark Anti-Violence Coalition. Is a term or whatever, a phrase that was coined by our councilman, Honorable Raz Baraka. He put a call out to the community after a woman named Lakeisha Allen in July 20th, actually 2009, she was murdered and killed in the city of Newark down on Elizabeth Avenue in Meeker. She was gunned down senselessly, coming home from, just going to the grocery store to get her children some milk. And she was viciously gunned down in a drive-by shooting. She wasn't the intended target, but, she was hit by some bullets that was intended for someone else down at the housing complex on Elizabeth Avenue, Mika 440.
Right.
And so she was killed. And murder, violence during that year of 2009 was plaguing our community. And I guess our councilman, as well as the community, just said, enough is enough. So a call was sent out, him along with my brother David Muhammad from the Nation of Islam, and Sergeant DeLacy Davis from Black Cops Against Police Brutality. They actually sent the call out to other grassroots organizations in the community, and we responded. We came back to that neighborhood, to that intersection where Nikisha Allen was murdered, and we said we have to do something differently than what we've been doing before.
Yes.
We've been protesting, we were marching, but never have we actually, took over an intersection and occupied that street and allowed for nothing, to actually come through.
Yes.
I mean, where it cannot be business as usual, that we have to raise the attention to the pandemic issue of violence like we have never before. And so from that day of July 20th, 2009, we have been keeping that momentum going in the streets to raise our community awareness of how serious the violence now have, is plaguing our community.
Well, sign me up. I want to be a part of it. What do I do?
Well, we have several ways you can contact us on Facebook. Newark Anti-Violence Coalition on Facebook. We have a phone number. You can dial 908-605-6282. Those are the main two ways, or actually you can find us somewhere in the city of Newark on a Wednesday at 5 p.m.
Okay.
If you follow the news, if someone was murdered within that week, you can expect the Newark Anti-Violence Coalition to visit a community near you.
Okay.
We're like the, we'll say the first responders to like the murder and violence. If someone's killed within that week in our community, we will be there to shut that community, shut that block down from, and pay homage
so
to that
you
life.
like march, you demonstrate, okay,
Yeah, basically.
and just let people know we're in your face and we are not happy about what you're doing.
Definitely, absolutely. Because, the way things are as a community, we cannot continue on.
Yes. I don't understand why people are not outraged
And that's
about what is going on. It's just like people are desensitized
Absolutely.
to what is happening.
That's
like
what it is.
Kendall, I never met Kendall, but to me, Kendall is my child.
Right.
Like Kendall is your child. We need to take things personal
Right.
and not just like, oh, isn't that too bad? You know
Right.
what I mean?
And we speak about that in terms of people not being in touch with it until it is on their doorstep.
Right.
Because that is expressly it. Like, we become desensitized to the fact, like, and because it happens so frequently, I think that people are afraid to feel the pain. So once it's on your doorstep, you have to be faced with it. You talked about Kendall. It's just like my nephew was murdered in the street shortly after Nikisha. Nikisha died July the 20th. My nephew was murdered a month and August 25th, 2009, and I've been a member of the Newark Anti-Violence Coalition. And it's when it's in your face, you have to deal with it, and that's one of the things that the Newark Anti-Violence does. It's not that we just go somewhere and we just want to shut things down, and but we want to bring you to a stop. So that you understand that this is what we feel when we have to bury our loved ones, when there are people who don't make it home. This brought us to a stop, so we have to bring it. And then we have places like a lot of the pain is where there's a lot of hopelessness. There's a lot of poverty. So they look at things, and it's not that it's business as usual, but it's kind of like monkey see, monkey do. My uncles was on the corner, so I'm on the corner, and what?
Right.
The invincibility, they think that they're invincible.
Yeah, they do.
You factor in the drugs, you factor in the alcoholism, and you got a whole array of things.
Jobless rate,
Right.
didn't go to school. There's
Right.
so many things, but it's like our leaders need to be addressing those issues, providing a place for these kids to go, something to do.
Right.
And it's just, they are emulating their environment.
Right. I think that, like, when we speak on in terms of leaders, we kind of throw the leaders to some abstract people. Our leaders are in our home.
That's true.
We're our first teachers. So what are we going to do? So then when we can't, because it's not available in every home, we get that.
Right.
So that's why we're here. You know what I mean? Because I can't bring back my nephew. I can't bring back Kendall, but I can save another one.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So there, and you know, the guy that's gone, that was the mayor, gone, just took all the money away, took the resources away that our children, things that I grew up here in the city of Newark with, that are not available to our children. And so this is why we have to bring the message. This is why we have a list of demands, because we want you to know that there is a cause to this.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And although we don't have all the answers, we have enough people with this answer and that answer that we're going to get you where you need to be. And so we just have to continue the fight. We have to continue the struggle so that we can bring those resources back and get the right people in the right place at the right time to take our city back.
Well, I have to say thank you both so much for doing what you do and to being out there in the front lines and making people aware of what's going on. And it has got to stop. And if everybody does their part to help end this violence, we can do it. It's got to start, like you said, in our homes and with each person as an individual coming together saying enough is enough.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for appearing on All Things Newark, and thank you so much for the job that
Thanks
you're doing.
for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate you very much. Thank you for tuning